Good evening and welcome to the SHAC. My name's Barbara Gray from Clarity here in the UK, and it is hot, damn hot. So where are you? I wonder if you've come in to keep me company or whether you're sitting in the garden like our Dave making stamp pens. Yes, he is. Well, that's what happens when you have a good idea, Dave. But how lucky are we that we can sit in the garden this week? It's so nice out there. Yep, so we'll keep this short, we'll keep this sweet. Hey, we are on the letter W, and my dear friend Jane Telford is in the room with you. Let me just check the sound because it could be a little loud. Let me just tone it down a little bit. Jane says the sound is good, but I know that when I get excited, it gets a little loud. So I can just change it just slightly so I'm not, let me see. I bet this will be better. Hello. Hi. 1, 2, 3. See, it's still a little tiny bit. I know. Whoever thought I'd be a sound engineer as well, eh? That's better. You see, it's easier for me to control it here. That's better, isn't it? I think so. It's not quite so loud, is it? Let's have a look. Oh, it's so hot. There we go. I reckon that's it. Stop fiddling, Gray. That'll do, donkey. Right, now I think that's better. See, so then I can get excited about things and don't have to worry about you sitting at home going, oh, there we are. Nice to have your company. Come on in. Yes, so have you had a good week? What have you been up to? Have you enjoyed the sun? Have you had to go to work? Have you been in the garden? Have you been crafting because it's too hot? This weather is deadly for work. And it's deadly for business. It's absolutely deadly for business because, you know, I've always maintained that crafting is a winter sport, you know, and but the trouble is that you try and explain that to the landlord. And it's the first of the month. Happy May Day. May Day. Yay. Yeah, so Jane's going to be in the room with you. If you have any questions for her, then of course she's your lady and she'll fire them through to me if there's anything. And all we're going to do this evening is travel gently. Yeah. I thought we'd have another little doodle. We'll take a look at those. We'll take a look at those little scenes that we started drawing on Monday. And we're on the letter W. So we started putting together this whole little, like a triptych, and then it started growing, and then you started giving us loads of ideas of different words. Then our Ken went on to the next level and drew and wrote an amazing poem, didn't you, Ken? So I'd like to, when a few more of us are here, I'd like to read that out. Like, are you sitting comfortably? Then I will begin. So we're gonna enjoy that. If you didn't see it on Facebook, it's so lovely. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. What else have we been doing this week? Oh, Raku. Really, I brought some pieces to show you. Couldn't help it. Had to be done. What have I been doing? Yeah, so Raku in the evenings, but you have no idea, honestly, unless you've done Raku, you have no idea how strenuous, how hard, how smelly you get. You absolutely reek. You can't go to bed without having a bath and washing your hair when you've been doing Raku. Honestly, it was quite something. I'd only washed my hair the day before, and I said to Dave, I said, smell my head. And he said, no, you definitely got to wash your hair. You smell like an old vagabond. In fact, that would be an insult to a vagabond. Yeah. You really do, because of course you're setting fire to straw and sawdust and things, and the smoke. Yeah, our neighbour's really pleased. You know, that irritating one that never stops tap tap tapping. Yeah, it's payback time. Now, I won't be as mean as to move the Raku. We've got a lovely little area underneath the yew trees for our Raku, for the kiln and that. And I wouldn't be wicked and move it right up to his fence. unless, like today, he consistently drills, taps. I think he's actually demolishing his house one brick at a time, and then he's got some mates in rebuilding it from scratch. But I think they've only got buckets and spades. Yes, so anyway, that was enough of the neighbour. We were doing raku, and we had a right result. I posted some of our stash. Do you know, I've just made them smearier. Hang on, all I can see is just a veil, like a mist. Clear view. Paul gives me these. Hang on, see if this helps. Why do I do this now and not before we go live? Well, you know, that is the question. A very good one too. Yeah, so where was I? Raku, exciting. And then this morning, pre-record. That wipes me out. You know, the 1, 2, 3 course that's starting next week. I'm hopeful that many of you have signed up for it. We've had lots of people enroll, which is very encouraging, and I'm very grateful. But of course, we do a pre-record, don't we? So today was the second one, because it's a 3-part workshop on the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st of May, right? So it starts next Wednesday, the live session. We also put together the pre-records for lots of reasons. One, so that if there's a problem with the internet, I mean, you know, that's all within the realms. If the internet falls over, if I fall over, you know, and you've paid your money and you're all ready to go, and then suddenly there's something not right, you know, how frustrating is that? So we do a pre-record. It also means that if you want to go back at any time afterwards, you can go and have a look. See? And also, oh, that's better. Hello. Also, if people enroll later on, they haven't got all the live banter going on, you know, like, oh, what did you have for lunch? They're coming for the knowledge. Yeah. You see? So good. We've got loads of friends in the building. Come on in. Nice to have your company. That's the thing about the weather. Okay, we are funny. We Brits, although we've got lots of foreign friends as well, right? The sun kills the business to a point, and then it gets too hot in the garden, and us, we're like, nah, that'll do. I'm going in my craft room with my fan and the blinds turned down, and I'm going to enjoy a nice cool glass of wine. I'm going to make something, don't we? Or we sit out in the garden. See, I like to sit out in the garden and make little raku birds. Under the shade of the umbrella, you understand? Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Making little shapes and then stinking the place up, firing up those little shapes. Would you like to see a couple, or should we wait? I can't wait to show you. It's no good. I'm going to show you. Right, raku birds. There's one little raku bird that's got a story behind it. So we're going to park that little fella. Right, we'll put him there. Oh, because there's a story behind that one, which is really good. So we've had 2 sessions of raku. Okay. I can't tell you how excited we were. So you might think, well, that's not that exciting, but it is. I tell you why, for why it is, because I made the shapes as well. So the little pots that are now all beautiful and blue, right? This is raku. They also, I pulled them as well. So the little bowl I made, you see? I'll show you. Look at the turquoise in that one. I know, amazing. Let's put the other camera on it and let's see if you can see. Right, so this was yesterday. See, so what's exciting is that I made these out of mud, literally out of mud. So where it goes black, and see, I've got a bit of see this gritty look. I wanted that. So the way to get the gritty look is to make it, see, if you look here, it's gritty here too. And so that follows through when you glaze it. And the bit that stays black is the bit that isn't got glaze on it. And that's what the smoke does. It makes anything where like I put masking tape around there when I put the glaze on, then I take the masking tape off, no glaze there. Basic stamping trick, right? So now, when you pop this, so then this goes in the kiln, and I'm repeating myself, but it's so exciting. So then you've got this tin drum, right, insulated, and you fire it up with gas, and you put these inside with a lid on, with a little hole, so a little peephole, and then you wait, and then you take the heat up quite quickly in about half an hour. You take it up to about 1,000 degrees, okay, hot, damn hot, right, until it's red hot. Literally, these pieces are glowing. The little tails on these birds were bright red, right? And then you've got these tongs. In the meantime, you've got a couple of buckets or dustbins, little dustbins over to the side. This is where we went a bit wrong. The dustbins were too big. It's okay. Dave knows it's gonna get me smaller buckets because that was a little bit of a we had a bit of a situation. Anyway, so you take the tongs and you go into this red hot, like really, really hot like this, and you pick the tongs up like that, and then you lift them up, and then you put them in said bucket. Now the dustbin's already got straw in it, so you've got something that needs to combust. When that hot bowl hits the straw or the sawdust or the wood ash or the newspaper, and the different materials create different effects. So I was sticking to sawdust and straw primarily, because it combusts really quickly. And you put a little bed of straw in, like a little nest, and then when you put these in, it goes poof, right, catches fire. So then when it catches fire, then you put a little bit more straw, and so you make a sandwich. Straw on fire, pot, red glowing, catching fire, more straw on top, lid on, right? Lid on. So that's the first one in, right? So you've done your tongs, straw. So Dave's there. I said, no, the sawdust. Straw. So anyway, so we do that, put the lid on. In the time it takes me, and this is why these are so expensive, right? The time it takes me to go back into the kiln where the other red hot things are sitting, get my prongs with tongs, get the next one like that, and you go, and please don't drop, please don't spling, don't do that. And then Dave's there, and he has to take the lid off. Well, so the lid comes off, and the smoke, right, proper black smoke. So then you can't see anything. You're standing there with this molten pot on the end of it. These tongs are like 3 foot long, right? So they're you go like, oh, where's the bin? Where's the bin? Right. So then he's going, put it in here, put it in here. You can't see him. This is love. Okay. This is true love. So I'm like this, waving this bloody pot around that's red hot that could really inflict some damage. The cats are locked in the house, by the way, because the last thing you want to do is trip over Ragnar on the way to the dustbin, right? So Dave's lifted the lid, black smoke. So we're looking, and I'm trying to, so he's wafting, trying to make, so I can see the rim of the bin so I can get it in. Try not to drop it on the one that's already in there, otherwise it will, you drop it on the one that's already in there, could break. Of course it could. Gutted, right? So we've gone through this. Your eyes are streaming, right? It's just, you think, has the tree caught fire? No, it can't, all right, because we had it cut back, remember? So there's no branches there. We've got a fire extinguisher, and we've also got a dustbin full of water next door. Push, if something could go. So you've got about 6 or 7 pieces, and you repeat this job 6 or 7, and then Dave's with the sawdust, and he puts the lid on, and the smoke starts building. So it's all part of the process. It's an oxidation process, and because the oxygen is being burnt up, right, as you put the lid on, the clay, that's why this goes so black, right? Look, and the longer you leave it in, the blacker it gets, and I know that, and I will show you how I know that, right? So the thing is, right, what you've got to know, I'll show you some more pieces in a minute, but this is so funny. So then this is where I said the dustbins were a little bit bigger than they ought to be. So the dustbins are huge. And then the sawdust is in the straws in the bottom. And then you don't really know, so I just said, we'll put a load of straw in so that then if I do drop it, I'm not dropping it on top. At least we've got sandwiches, right? So we put it all in, then we've got a second dustbin on the go. So we start that one up. The second one, I remembered I needed to count how many pieces I was putting in, right? Because if you don't count, honestly, when the time when you got to get it out again, it's still smouldering and smoking and it's black and everything's black and your eyes are streaming. How does she know this? You can't see anything. So the last thing you can see is this little fella right down in the bottom. So that's why I said to Dave, I think we need smaller bins, maybe little ones, petite, so that we could put the little things rather than that in a bloody 50-litre dustbin, right? In a smoke drum, basically. So we had some sport last night. So now let me show you the result, okay? And then you'll see. So it's all worth it. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look. So look at the firing on that, right? So that's what happens. This is all turquoise glaze, but you see, so I threw it before and I made a good foot on it, right? That's the inside. This is just glorious. For me, I can't tell you how much joy I get out of that. And these little birds, right? So these little birds, that's another thing, right? They've got a hole in them. That would be for Barbara. They've got a hole in them. So because obviously they're hand molded. I mold them round. What do I mold them round? Let me think. Oh yeah, a bit of newspaper. I make a little sausage like a newspaper, and then I mold the clay around the newspaper and I shape the bird around the paper. So when it goes in the kiln for the beforehand to make bisque firing, there's newspaper in there. So we've already had the adventure of, will the newspaper inside the bird catch fire? No, it doesn't. Okay. But you don't know, do you? I've been Googling it. I've been ChatGPTing it. Oh, I tell you what, restless, sleepless nights over these pots. Anyway, so we've got these wonderful turquoise. And then, enter the owl. So the owl went in. This is the first one. Look how small he is. Look. Yeah. Look. Oh, look. Yeah, so he was a bit of an experiment just to see if it worked. I wanted to know how it works. I'm going to put oil on him as well, or wax, to make the black blacker. So I don't want to put him in again, but to make the black blacker, I can wax that. That'll be lovely. Look, isn't he nice? Let's see the crackle. Right, so that's him. So this is what happens. This is a white one. Look, that's a white crackle. That came out lovely. Look, that's clear crackle. That's what's supposed to happen, right? Nice. Okay, we've got about 10 of these owls. Well, he's the only one that's been fired so far. I didn't want to put him in and then it go wrong. And my word, it could have. Oh, have you been there last night? I said to Dave when we sat down, and they were sitting on the tray under the tree. We'd finished. I said, that wasn't quite as much fun as yesterday, was it? We were absolutely knackered. Yeah, wasn't quite as enjoyable as the night before, was it? The night before we got lost in the euphoria of it all. Anyway, what else can I show you? Oh, yeah, so I want to tell you, so remember I said in the first bin, it was like, whoa, it caught us by surprise, just smoke everywhere. Where's the bin, right? So I'll just show while I'm telling you the story. This one is a white one, and then I Googled it. I said, can I put it back in if I'm not that thrilled with it? Yes, you can re-raku. Okay, right, re-raku, here we go. So this one, this is, am I doing pre-order? Do you know, I knew someone was going to ask me that. So this one is turquoise over the top of the white one. So I did one like that, and then I didn't like it. I was underwhelmed. So I put turquoise over the top to see what would happen. This is a really great exercise in what if you do this? See, this is what this one looked like on the inside. Not very good on the crackle. Nice on the outside, but not so good on the inside. So then what I did was I put turquoise over it, threw it in again. Literally threw it in again. And that's how it came out. So I might do that one as well, just because, right? And then, now where's that one that's absolutely ridiculous? Okay, so these are good. These came out nice, these little pots. Okay, you can see the glaze on them and the crackle, right? Now look at the inside. There's one on the inside, it's crazy. See the copper on the inside of that one? Look, couldn't put it on the outside, but look at that. See that metallic? I know. Crazy good, eh? Crazy good. So I can see you asking whether you can order them. And I think I might be able to take commissions, but thing is, I can't guarantee that you say, oh, I want that one, right? But then 10 people want that one and I'll never get that in there again. But if you said to me, I want a pencil pot, or I want a little pot like that, or I want a little bird, birds I could do till the cows come home. And then I'll just make it. I would never send anything that wasn't beautiful, right? But let me tell you, I'm not worried about that. We'll sort that out. That's not a problem. They take forever. That's the truth. But you see, that's what the SHAC's about. That's what this is all about, what we do here. I don't do this as a business. I do this for the process. I get so excited about the making. Once I've made it, it's like, oh, okay, that's that. On to the next one. You see, I mean, every now and again you'll hit the jackpot and you'll go, oh, and then just stare at it for hours. You know what I mean? When you make cards or something like that, don't you? Right? And then you just think, oh, I can't believe I made that, you know? But, so this is what happened yesterday. We sat down, absolutely cream crackered. We'd made all these lovely bits and pieces. Look, this is a nice little bird as well. So we made all these birds. And I said to Dave, I said, did we count what we put in the first one, right? In the first dustbin? He said, no, because we were enshrouded in the smoke at that point and we really hadn't considered. And I thought, I could have sworn that I put more birds in than that, right? But remember, we're talking about a full-size dustbin here, okay? What are the chances of me finding a bird in all that black soot and smoke? Yeah, not a chance. So we go indoors. This is about 9 o'clock at night. It's already dark out. We've put a wet towel over the smouldering embers. Stop the smoke everywhere. We stink, right? The washing machine's going now. Anyway, so then I'm scrubbing them because that's not finished. Now you've got to scrub all the stuff off, all the straw and the burnt bits that are all stuck on there. And then you actually see what colours are underneath. You don't really get this effect until you've scrubbed it with a wire wool. I know, it's great for the hands, manicure not. So, but here's the thing. So I always put a bee on my work, don't I? There's always a little bee somewhere, except on him. There's always a bee somewhere. I don't know, this is an experiment, right? So somewhere on the bird, there'll be a bee. Everyone I've picked up, there's no bee. There's a bee. There you go. See the little bee? Birth for Barbara. All right. Okay. So there's my little bee for Barbara. But last year, was it last year or the year before? Last year, Grace came home. Do you remember she split up with that bloke? And she came home. And and one evening we sat. Grace is really artistic. You know, she just doesn't embrace it like we do. Okay, but whatever she turns her hand to, fantastic. So I said, you know what? Let's make a little bird just to get out of your head. Come on. So we sat together and I showed her how to make a bird. Grace made the best bird. Of course she did, right? She's only ever got to do something once and it's just beautiful. So she makes this gorgeous bird. Am I boring you yet? It's all right. We can get on with the drawing. So she makes this beautiful bird. I said, you need to initial it, Grace. So she didn't have a letter like I've made a letter. So she just took a pen and she scratched G in it. So yesterday afternoon, I thought, I know what I'll do for Grace. I'll glaze her bird, because it's been sitting there for a year waiting. And that's when I realized, I thought, oh no, of all the ones to forget in that dustbin outside. This is a good hour now. We're talking an hour at least since we fished all these out, right? I thought of all the ones to not find, it's Grace's. Ah, my heart sank. So I didn't say anything to Dave. I thought, right, I'm going back out there. So I've got these red gauntlets, right? Red anti-fire gauntlets. So I've come out, and now it's dark as well, twilight. Lid off. As soon as oxygen goes in, poof, off it goes again. So now I'm got the dustbin on its side, right, and I'm shaking. I've got a wooden stick, and I'm moving the straw around. And I have a heavy heart at this point, because I think that little bird, whether it survived this, it's been in here an hour now, but at least I need to know, don't I, what happens when you leave a little raku bird in the embers for une heure, right? Find it. It's covered in black, right? It's just a big lump of black, but I know it's a bird. So I go in and I wash it. And looky. Look. And that's what happens. Look at the colours on that. That beautiful metallic. Look, that's what happens. Look, he's got a tiny little turquoise beak. I know, I couldn't believe it. Can you believe that's just mud, right? And that's what happens when you leave it in the embers for an hour. See that copper? Isn't that gorgeous? So the turquoise goes that. I know. So then here we are. I went from really despondent, because I thought I've destroyed Grace's, to elated, because it was by far the best one, And I can't believe that you can. Let me see if I can come in on this rather than me bring it up to you. Look, so you can see it now. I can't believe that the colours change that beautifully. And he nearly got lost, that little fella. Look at that. So nice. See how Grace is? She's a clever girl. Look, just a perfect little bird. Gee. Eh? Isn't that lovely? Yeah. But I was absolutely over the moon, when I found that little guy. We nearly lost him. So note to self, smaller bins, so you can see what you're doing, definitely. Not loads of pieces. And if you do more than one, count them. I know. It looks like a wren. Oh, I've got some wrens. I made some wrens. See, one of the challenges to me was to think of a bird in my head and then make the shape of the bird from my head. I like that kind of thing. And then I look at it and then I think, okay. Then I go to see Dave and I say, what bird's that? And then I'll test him. He goes, oh, it's a wren. Or, oh, that's a nuthatch. Or, oh, and that's really fun. The owls are definitely easy, right? The owls are easy. So we've got loads of different owls. But everyone's different, you see, because they're handmade. They're not made with a mould. I did consider going into mass production. And then Dave said, well, where would be the joy in that? And I thought, you're right, really. Because I said, I can make a mould and then we can make loads of them. And he said, and where would be the joy in that for you? I thought, yeah, that sounds too much like Clarity all over again, doesn't it? So there you go. That's what we've been up to this week. That and the pre-recording this morning. But this kind of art gives me energy. It energizes me. Do you have an art that energizes you? What energizes you? What gets you fired up like that? That really makes you excited? See, and it's funny because it's not even, the finished product is lovely, of course. Yeah. That's nice, isn't it? When you have an outcome like that. But it's the making, it's the process. It's starting with a lump of clay and then following the process right through. I'm in love with the process. The outcome's lovely, of course it is, but it's the expression and it's the feel of the art going through from mud to finished piece. It's that journey. It's climbing the mountain. Not that I would ever climb a mountain, right? I'm not that one. But from a point of view of an analogy, it's the climbing of the mountain, not getting to the top. Do you know what I mean? Like my brother, when he used to play rugby a lot, and he used to say, it's the game, not the score. Mark's the same, our Mark. It was the game, never the score. If you won, it was a bonus. Great, yeah. But it was the game that got them. I'm sure that's what gets so many guys hooked. You know, if you win, then happy days. But you don't play only to win. And if you do, then the game isn't true, you know. So there you go. And Dave does deserve a medal. He does. He was absolutely hobbling around, poor bloke, on his dodgy knee. And I kept saying, with the dustbin lid and the sawdust and the bloody straw. Yeah. Oh, dear, it's got to be love, that has, I tell you. And then Grace said, you could do classes in the garden. She said, people would love to do that. I said, do you want to tell Dave or shall I? He's a technician. Nut. So there you go. That was that. Right. I hope you enjoyed it. I was so excited to come and tell you about it, especially Grace's little copper bird. It's like completely different to the others. There you go. Look, completely different. Blacker, definitely blacker, because it was stuck down there for an hour in the dustbin, right? It's a robin. It's a robin. So I'm going to try, right? I mean, no guarantees. That's the thing about Raku. You got no idea whether it's going to work or not. But the more you do, I bet it's like everything. It's like the same what we do. The more you do, the better you get. And the better you get, the more you want to do, right? But I'm wondering with the robins, I could give it a go. I'll try it with one. If I glaze the robins and put the glaze on the chest, and then maybe, just maybe, the chest will come out that colour. The shape will be a robin. I've got robin ones, right? That'd be nice, wouldn't it? See, and then all I want to do is make more. So, but I can't retire. I can't retire. I can't leave you. No. So somewhere there has to be a happy medium, doesn't there? And I did say to Dave, because I thought otherwise he's gonna pack his little weekender. I said to Dave, what I'll do now, because the glazing takes forever. So I said, I'll spend a few evenings now in the garage just doing all the glazing. Get all the glazing sorted out, right? Because obviously the open days are you coming to the open days? Because that's what this is for. All these are for the open days. Except for Grace's. Grace's got a girl for Grace on it. So I said, I'll do all the glazing, and then we'll have a Saturday, right, where we get up early in the morning before the neighbours are even up, and then we'll crank up the Raku kiln, because it's really loud as well. You can't hear yourself think when the gas cylinder's on. Yeah, it'd be great. And then we'll have a whole session, one after another. But I need loads of dustbins, Dave, if you're listening. Loads of little dustbins. If anybody knows where you can get, you need tin dustbins, mustn't be painted because the paint will, it will melt. So you need little tin dustbins that have a lid on so that you can seal it in. That's what I need. If you happen to have a load of little tin dustbins that you're trying to get rid of, let me know. I am coming to the open days. I know you are, Ken. I will come and get you personally. Right, okay. So that was that. And already I know I'm bad, but I just had to let you know. Right, should we do some doodling? Okay. Come on. It's all part of it, you know. It's all part of it. I'm not here. I'm not a performer, as in, you know, Well, I am. I did that today for 3 hours. I went like the clappers to do the pre-record, you know, because that's paid online course. So of course that has to be really good. I think it was really good. When I finished, I thought, God, they'll love that. And you know what? The card you think you're going to make looks nothing like the card that you end up with. I can tell you that now. It was quite, but it's even better. You know, it's like next level good. You know, so if you're sitting on the fence about doing this online course, okay, I put together 5 cards that we're going to make over 3 Wednesdays, and today I did the pre-record for the second session, which will be on the 14th of May on a Wednesday afternoon. 3 hours I was at it, just so you know. It's not 2 hours, it's 3 hours. But I knew that was going to happen. Doesn't matter because it's pre-recorded, okay? You can stop it, you can start it, you got the key, you've paid for the key, you can go in and out as many times as you like into that particular classroom. Isn't that good? Yeah, so so today I was doing this pre-record and I talk about go off piste, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going with this. And I put things in that weren't in the picture, and it's great. You've got everything in front of you if you've got the ingredients list. So it wasn't that I was grabbing on something that you wouldn't have in front of you. But yeah. Right, so here we are on the letter W. And in true SHAC form, all we need is a pencil and a piece of paper. Or in this case, we're using the 3.5 by 3.5 inch cards. We're not even using our tracing paper. Right, there you go. And we're doing a seriously neat little doodle. So on Monday, we did the way marker, woof away marker, and then we did some weeds. Here's our list. Look, this is what we did. Then we got to the weeping willow, a wonky tree. I'm not going to get caught up in whether it's a weeping willow or not. Wonky tree, white picket fence, and there's the shack with the wonky woof and the weather vane. And we just were drawing, and we got as far as we did the way marker, very simple, really sketchy, just with a pencil, and we were using a 2H, like a harder pencil. And then we did the tree, and what I showed you was how the tree is quite cool. It's when you see the tree, let's go into close like that. Right, when you see the tree, it's difficult to know where would you start when you're drawing it. Dave says he's already bought the bins. Good man. Right. So what I did was I did a tree. Do you remember we did it right at the end of the 10 o'clock session on Monday? So the tree, this is different. Everyone's going to be different. This is really like raku. You'll never, when you're doing a hand-drawn thing, it's your hand, you know, and comparison is the killer of joy, right? Yesterday at 10 o'clock at night, sat in the kitchen looking at my pots like chuffed to giblets. And then I made the mistake of going on Facebook, only because something pinged. And I'm sure, Big Brother is listening, because out of nowhere, there was the Pot Fest was on this weekend at Glyndebourne House down near Lewes. Okay, we didn't go. I was too busy doing stuff. And also with Dave's knee operation, it's a little bit of a haul walking around a show. So we decided to give it a miss this year. But what should pop up but one of the world's most amazing raku artists? Like, actually not so much my cup of tea. I like it a little bit more gritty, you know, a little bit more organic like this. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. But his are like really exquisite shapes and pink. He goes for the metallic, the real, like the pinks and the coppers and the turquoise, like amazing, right? It is amazing. And for a minute I looked at it and I felt my elation sort of deflate, like somebody burst my bubble. So my joy bubble kind of went, ooh, because I thought, oh, I'm not as good as him. For a split second, I'll never be as good as him. I'll never be able to do that. And then I heard the voice in my head, you know, that self-deprecating, I don't know what it is, but it's in us, isn't it? And I thought, shut up. What on earth are you doing? You know that comparison is the killer of joy. And I just flicked it off. No, actually, I wrote him, I turned it round and I wrote him a little message. Not that he'd read it, but I wrote him a little message saying, absolutely marvelous, fantastic colours. I've just had my first session in the garden and I really appreciate the skill level that you've achieved. Kiss, kiss. I thought, yeah, that's better, rather than think, yeah, he's brilliant and I'm rubbish, which is our default often, isn't it? I thought, no, hats off to the man that's been doing it for 40 years, not 40 hours. There's the difference. And so then I passed him by, waved, I saluted him. I said, absolutely brilliant, sir. And then I carried on staring at my little pieces. See? And that's what you've got to do. Never get caught up in comparing what you're doing with what somebody else is doing, because it doesn't serve you any purpose at all. There, and thus endeth the sermon. So back to this. I have washed my hair, by the way. Right, so let's have a look. What are we doing? Dave says maybe we should put them on pinky grey, the pottery. Yeah, do you know, that's been my intention all along, because we've got another website, haven't we? Another company called Pinky Grey. You know, when we do the prints and we do those beautiful finished cards, this is exactly what we're having a meeting about tomorrow morning, Pinky Grey. And that's where I want to maybe put pots, because they're one-offs. So pot goes on, pot goes off. You load the pots, people buy the pots off the photograph. And when it's gone, it's gone. Then I'll put another one on when I get time. That might be a good idea. Eh? Yeah. But I'm not doing it for that, you see. I'm not doing it for that. Although that is quite flattering when people want to buy your work, isn't it? That feels quite good too. So let's have a look. Right, tree. Let's draw. So you see how the tree, you do the canopies. So let's go with this one here. Right. I'm too excited to draw trees, but it's okay. Look, so what you've got here, let me go over it again. So you went this way like that, right? And you drew that V. And then you did another little wobbly old gnarled tree like that. And then you put in a branch there off that, and you maybe another branch there like that. See, so you can see it better now. And then you stopped. That's where we stopped. And then you drew a canopy. So what I mean by that is not a little sandwich, but look, so you go like that. And all the time when you're doing that, you're doing this you're holding it upright and you're making like little squiggles. So you could do different ones. Do you know, I was stuck in traffic on the way to work, and I was actually looking at trees, and they're and this is exactly what they look like. And some trees have got far more gap in between the bushes of like really, you can change the type of tree by adding more branch area and less leaf area, you know. Next time you're sitting in traffic, I mean, that's how I mastered the art of landscapes, just sitting on the M25 and the M11 staring out in the traffic. But when you look at the tree, don't just look at the tree as a whole. Look at how it's built. Have a look at how it's built, and you'll see exactly what we're drawing here. There's a trunk, and then there'll be like a cluster of leaves, and then there'll be a little sky area, and in that sky area there'll be some trunks, some branches, and then off the branches will be another little clusters, and more little clusters, and more little. So these call them canopies, right? Like layers, almost like a bonsai tree. Jane's husband, Colin, he grows bonsai, so you know exactly what I mean, Jane. It's like a layer on a layer on a layer, and then you build up. And have a look the next time. You can see it here, what I'm doing. And then what we'll do is we'll put a bit of shadow underneath, right? So now I can't see a thing here. Still got smoke gets in your eyes. That is a song, isn't it? Was that my epoxy internet connection? Deborah Wheeler keeps dropping out. I know. Well, that's why I did a pre-record today, because the my epoxy internet connection. Although having said that, at the business, we've got a dedicated line just to avoid that catastrophe, right? Can you imagine? You've got 150 odd, 200 people coming to the party, to a workshop, and then the internet goes down. Right, so I'm just doing around the top of the canopy as well. Just make it a little bit like so. But it's going to be so lovely. What we're looking at is underneath. I wish I could. Let me go with the darker pencil. And now we're going to go in there and we're going to add a bit of shadow. Watch how this makes this pop. But when I'm adding the shadow, I'm doing little tiny lines like that, almost like tassels, and I'm cross-hatching. So that I'm breaking up the line. You see? Cool, I've waffled loads tonight. Sorry. I was in that mood. When I got in from work this afternoon, I was absolutely pooped, because those pre-records, I've got to tell you, they do take it out of you. 3 hours on your own, and you haven't got anybody to bounce off. You know, it's like the SHAC. Mind you, saying that, I said so Jim, see, then I do it, and then like I gave Jim the first one, and then I said, right, what I need Jim to do then is edit it. So what he does is he tops and tails it. What we mean by that is you put something to the front, so you know, like a jingle, and then you end it so it looks more professional, and then it just looks like a little video, really. But Jim does that. And I said, but he's got to edit it, which means that poor bloke, he's got to then watch a 2-hour or a 3-hour video. And if I've made a mistake, we've always worked together, Jim and I, doing that. Yeah. Actually, I can tell you that while we're doing this. And I wonder if I've got my other glasses. I know I haven't got my Dame Edna's because I used them today, but I do have my magnifiers. See if that's any better. I have decided I need to go. Oh yeah, that's more like it. I need to go to the opticians. It's a decision that I don't take lightly, but I do. I need to go to the opticians. Right, and this is sketchy. This is real sketchy. We're not worrying about. So now let's go to this one. Yeah, I do need to go to the opticians. It's definite. See, so you're building up your canopy. That's your sandwich, said the waiter. Right. So then in you go with your little tassels in there. And this is what gives that's why it's called a canopy, because it's like an overhang, like an awning, and nature's awning. See? So you go in there like that, and you'll see that then adds a fantastic, look, you can come in a bit further with this one. Lightly does it. So you've got the trunks going through there, they're peeping out there like that. See, you can go in a bit darker if you like, and put a little bit of shadow on the trunk, like that. See, we're going to go on. When we've done all this, we're going to go in with a black micron pen. I'm pushing the boat out on this one. We're going to go with a micron pen. There you go, another little canopy. Canopies. And once we've done this tree, this is going to be so lovely. Look. Right, little zigzags. It's like urban sketching, this is. Look. But It's like, I'll show you this one. This is something that beautiful Jane Nesterenko drew, and you can see the tree there. We're all good at drawing those now, you know, just naked trees. So what we're doing is we're breaking up the tree there, putting a canopy in, but we're still imagining that the tree is still there, the shape's still there without the, but then we're hiding. We're going in over the top, and we're putting these little billowing, like almost like clouds of leaves, you see. But if you wanted to, you could draw a tree like that. If you felt, I find it easier to do this like that than do that and then try and put the canopies in. I find this easier, and I bet you do too, right? So then you just do that, and then see, even inside the canopies, you're going to put little divots and shades, and because when you look at a tree from a distance, you don't really see the leaves. You see the impact of it, don't you? Green. You know, Dave was saying the other day, he said, check out that oak tree, because there's an oak tree over the road. Absolutely beautiful, huge thing. Fortunately, they put they slapped what's it called, an order on there to stop them cutting it down, because the builders here, they cut them down and then they ask questions afterwards, the CPO, and they fortunately managed to rescue the beautiful oak tree before the builders did their number on it. They already had knocked one out. Oh, I was so angry. But Dave was looking at the tree the other day, and he said, look at the colour, you know, where the sunlight runs through it. And it's such a bright, vivid green. I can see it from here. And if you drew it in a picture, if you painted it that colour, you'd think, well, it's a little bit gaudy. You know, it's a little bit on the bright side. But in actual fact, it really is quite spectacular. Don't forget your little branches. So they're getting thinner as you get to the top, aren't they? See? There. Yeah. So they're like miniature trees up here. Tiny little. And then you're going to put your little branches in. I love doing this stuff. And there's no pressure. You know, this is just. So you make little tassels. Little crosshatch down there. Look how that's coming together. And if I showed you that, you wouldn't know where to begin, really. You know, you wouldn't know that you start there and then you make that little clouds, you know, little clouds, and then you join the clouds up. Easily done, actually, once you do it. Just decide how tall your tree is going to be, what shape it's going to be, and then just go for it. Have a little practice. So this is our wonky tree. I like this one. It's nice, isn't it? It's really nice. I wouldn't mind sitting under there for a few hours. Eh? And I tell you what I'm looking forward to doing is going back over this with black, with a really fine 005, and then sketching it. And I bet it looked best if we just leave the pencil marks behind. But we could give that a go as well. Let me just check something. Have I got enough batteries to keep waffling here? Because I really want to read. When we've done this tree, I really want to read Ken's poem to you. And then we'll sit comfortably and I'll read a really cool poem to you by our friend Ken, which is quite clever. Well, of course it is. It's Ken. How many years have we been friends, Ken? I met Ken literally the month I came back from America in 1995. 1995, 15, 20. That's 30 years. Is it? No way. 30 years, Ken. I've told you this story before. I had well, funny enough, I've outlived Marks and Spencer's, it seems. I didn't say that. At the Saver Centre at Hempstead Valley, there's a Marks and Spencer's. And when I came back from the States in 95 as the little kids, single mum and all that, I had this little 6-foot table, and I was trying to sell stamps to pay the rent. And that is, yeah, overnight sensation, not. And I had this table outside Marks and Spencer's, where at the Sabre Centre, and then I had my stamps on it, and I'd come back from the States, and it was a mum and dad. They lived at Hempstead. They live in that area, Gillingham. And so they'd come in. Dad would come and get Grace and Mark, and I would concentrate on trying to sell some stamps and make a few bob. Anyway, so I remember standing there, and I always, every Sunday, look, doesn't this look lovely? Right? Every Sunday I'd go and sell my stamps up there. For about 2 years I did that, never missed a Sunday. And when I had to go to the States to take the kids to see their dad, Ken looked after my stand for me. But let me take you back. So I'm standing there with my stamps, my little, that I was making in the garage, and then this guy starts coming towards me, quite a good looking bloke with a beard. I thought, do I know him? Because I come from the Medway towns. See, so I thought, oh, blimey, he didn't look like one of my exes. And so he come running towards me, and he was so pleased to see me, right? I thought we must know each other, but we didn't. What he was looking at was not me, it was the stamps. And he was so excited. Is something wrong?
No, I've just got you a cup of chamomile tea, darling.
Oh, thank you very much.
I see you coming up in an hour.
So he was so excited. Oh, thanks. I'm working towards it. He was so excited about this these transparent stamps, and he said, I've been waiting for these for years. This is exactly what we need. See how I'm just adding a little bit of shadow here and there? All I'm doing is little cross hatches like that. See, like that. And it's just adding a little bit of shadow. It's good, isn't it? There we are. And Ken was so delighted about these transparent stamps. He said, these are exactly what the world's been waiting for. And that's how our friendship started. There you go. And that was when I came back from the States in 1995. Good God. Yeah. And that's how long Ken and I have known each other. And then we worked together. And now we're just really good mates. But Ken is a very clever man. Okay. And I'm sure that any of you that know him, even like from the SHAC here, you know that. He's the kindest person you'll ever meet. And he's one of the cleverest people you'll ever meet as well. And that's a fact, although he's very self-deprecating, very modest, and he won't like me to say this, but it is the truth. He's super clever. So is his wife, Anita. They're very, very, very clever people, scientist types, And there, isn't that a lovely tree? I like that one better than that one. But every tree is different. I bet there are no two trees the same. So what I'm going to do now, right, while you sit and look at the tree, rather than look at me, I'm going to read you what Ken has written about our wonderful waymarker. Look at all these different lists. And Paul gave me a list of all the things that you suggested as well, right? This artwork of ours could go on for years, beginning with W. Now let me find the poem, and then I'm going to finish on this, and then I'll tell you what else is going on. But this is pretty special. Let me just find it. Right, here we go. Okay. As Barbara weaved her... Are you sitting comfortably? Are you sitting comfortably? Then I shall begin. Right, and I'll give you the waymarker and the fence like that. Right, there you go. There's the shack. There's the tree that we've just done. So you can do a screen grab if you want it. Nice, nice, nice. There's a tree so you can see what the idea is behind it. They're good, aren't they? Right, here we go. And this was written by Ken Kilminster. As Barbara weaved her way down the winding path, she came across the way marker to show the way back home. Suddenly, a white weasel wove into sight and whipped his watch from his warm woolly waistcoat to check the time. "Oh dear," he wailed. "Oh, woe is me. I'm late. I'm late for a very important date. It's nearly 7 o'clock, and I should be in the shack." And with a wink and a whistle, he disappeared down a warren. Barbara chuckled and carried on wandering her way past a waterfall, whooshing down a wooded slope, as warblers, wagtails, wrens, and waxwings joined woodpeckers and woodlarks, warbling overhead below white, wispy clouds. Barb walked on through fields of waving wildflowers until the wonky weeping willow tree wove into view. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And there, below the whirling weather vane, behind the white picket fence, next to the wondrous wishing well, good God, next to the wondrous wishing well, woven with whispering wisteria, we haven't drawn that yet, was the welcoming sight of the wonderful shack. Oh, isn't that amazing? Barbara eased into her wicker strand corp, watched the whelks, whales, and winkles waltzing on the water lilies, and practiced her white work. Oh, back down to earth. She waved to the friendly, weathered wabbard jockey as it wandered past, reciting a rhyme. Was Rillig and the whirlgigs did waltz and wimble in the wabe. All whimsy were the wombat woads, and the wajimy flips outwaved. Barb chuckled again and whispered warmly, "All is well in the shack." Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that just beautiful? Thank you, Ken. And now, if I can only remember which letter we're on in the shack alphabet, whoopee. Yeah, I think in case you hadn't noticed, we're on woofer, wonderful. So there you go. I think we've had a great hour. I won't keep you any longer. Dave just brought me a chamomile. What else is going on this week? Tomorrow's rather exciting if you are a white worker. Oh, a Pergamano specialist. You know what I meant. At 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock tomorrow, Paul and Louise are going to be presenting a really super useful A4 plate. You might want to have a look on the website. And I'm sure for early birds, it's already had a pre-launch, because the sooner you get your order in, the sooner it goes out the door. It's always the way. Have a look at the website. It's a really, really clever plate. We've got the stamps. You know, all the Jazz designed it, and there's got different, like happy birthday in loads of different fonts, and happy anniversary in loads of different fonts in stamps. And then they've got little boxes that you stamp into. Absolutely inspired, right? Well, she's done the same thing in a great big A4 plate. So instead of 6 little baby plates, we put it onto one great big A4 plate. Happy anniversary, happy birthday, happy, and we made it landscape so it's more ergonomically pleasing, right? So check that out. I think you'll be delighted. That's tomorrow. And then on Sunday, it's Paul and myself. And if you're into landscapes, okay, there are 3 dies. Do you remember you will have done the workshop, the cottage, the lighthouse, and the aqueduct? We've developed dies, so we don't have to cut. It's all cut for you. Brilliant, like really brilliant. Cut like butter, cut felt, beautiful. So you can make the most gorgeous landscapes now with dies. It's a game changer, and the artwork from the design team is second to none. So that will be on Sunday from 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock. So I'm going to concentrate on presenting that and doing doing the best that I can there. Jane Telford says the dies are brilliant. I think so too. And they're different, you know, they really are a game changer. So I'm sure that you'll enjoy those. And it's really lovely because we're right on the, you know, I feel like we're on the cusp of something here. You know, I've always felt like that though. You know, it's okay. It's lovely to spend time with you. I hope that you enjoyed that. And don't forget, Bank Holiday Monday. Bank Holiday Monday, Raku, firing. That's when we're going to go for it, Dave, just so you know. Provided we've got the right dustbins, otherwise 9999. It'll have to wait. Okay, so there you go. Thanks for your company. Jane, thank you for your help. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And yeah, I think we'll have a talk. We'll see how many of these little fellas. Raku is a real labour intensive, you know, it may be that you do ask me to make them and I make them just for you, you know, and maybe it takes a month or two. Maybe we do it that way, you know. Right, where's that mouse? Here it is. There. Have a lovely evening. I'm going to go and join my husband in the garden. Bye-bye now. And Ken, thank you.